Trust. We so often talk about trusting others, but what about trusting ourselves? Over the last few weeks, we've had some amazing guests on the podcast, and no matter what the topic, one consistent theme came through: trusting yourself. When you want to tap into your intuition, you must trust your inner guidance. When you want to live a life of authenticity, you must trust your truth. When you want to grow and evolve in the direction of your purpose, you must trust the process. The thing is, we so often disregard what we know to be true. We look to others for input and opinion, and we don't really value the genius we all have within. And when it comes to being an authority on your life, there really is no better source of guidance than you. So it's time to trust yourself, trust your experiences, trust your inner knowing, trust the divine direction that is always guiding you to greatness, because it is there. And when you decide to put your trust in you, you will find more peace, confidence, and ease in everything you do. Let's talk about it. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Intentional Living with Courtney Meyers. I'm your host, the founder and creator of the Intentional Home and Living, Courtney Meyers, and today we are talking all about this idea of trusting yourself, trusting your inner guidance, trusting your inner knowing, trusting your inner genius that we all have, trusting your intuition. Now, I know we were supposed to have another great guest on the show today, but don't worry, we had to reschedule, but Angie will be here in another couple of weeks. And today, I really want to talk about a topic that came through to me from our last two guests, Sonia and Kristen. As we were talking, we talked a lot about this idea of connecting to yourself, connecting to what you know within, connecting to the mass consciousness and this vibration that is being raised. And this all lies in learning to trust ourselves again, learning to look within, get still, and understand what we ourselves know, what we are hardwired to know. We have all the answers within us, every single one of us. But at a young age, I think we all are conditioned to turn it off and to turn our trust to someone else, turn our trust to the opinion of another, whether it's a caretaker or a teacher or someone on TV. It doesn't really matter where that trust comes from. We learn to abandon what we truly already know about ourselves, what we feel is right, what we feel like we should be doing or the direction we should be going, and allow the input and outside influences of others to sway us. And we need to learn to come back to ourselves. We need to learn to trust ourselves again. And that is really something that both Kristen and Sonia talked about in all their work, is learning to trust what we say. Don't ignore the signs when you get them. That is the key to your intuition. Understanding how you get your guidance. It's not necessarily something coming in as this big, long dissertation of what you should or shouldn't do. It could be a feeling. It could be an inkling. It could be a stomach ache. It doesn't really matter. You will know if something is leading you in a certain direction. I know for me, it can be in little times. It can be in little moments. When I moved to Tennessee, I had the worst haircut of my entire life. It has taken me over a year to finally get my hair back to some sense of normalcy. I say it was Pat Benatar meets Rachel from Friends, the Rachel haircut. It was horrible. It was like hideous. I couldn't find enough hats, hair ties, ways to disguise this haircut. And it really shook my sense of self. You don't realize how much your outside appearance affects your inside feelings. But I should have stopped myself from getting this haircut. I knew it wasn't going to be a good haircut. When I walked into the hairdresser the day I got it, I had a feeling. I just knew this was not going to end well. But I didn't want to hurt someone's feelings. I didn't want to offend anyone by saying this isn't for me. So I was playing nice, and I went along with it and got my hair cut, even as she was coloring it, even as she took the razor to it, which you should never take a razor to my hair. But when she took the razor to my hair and was shedding the edges, I just had this cringe feeling all over me. My stomach hurt. I wanted to get up and run, but I smiled, made small talk, and allowed her to butcher my hair and essentially butcher my self-esteem for at least a year, if not more. I'm still trying to come back to how I feel about myself. So it can be in small things. Trusting yourself doesn't necessarily always have to be in these big moments, these life-changing decisions we're making. It can be in these small things, but it is so important to learn how to trust yourself, how to read your own signals, how to know when something is right for you or wrong for you. Only you know that. It doesn't matter what other people think. You can ask the opinion of others, but that's not their life. When you're asking the opinion of others, please know that that is someone else's opinion. It is how they would approach a situation. It is how they would approach their life. It is not how you approach your life. And it is so much easier to give advice or opinions, input, when you are not the person that has to live with the consequences. Let me repeat that. It is so much easier to be on the outside giving advice, opinions, or input if you're not the one that has to live with the consequences of that advice, opinion, or input. Just think about how many times you've talked with a girlfriend or a boyfriend or someone about a relationship and they give you advice that they would never take. It might be right. It might be the logical advice to take, but intuition is not logical. Your inner knowing is not logical. And we need to understand that. Not everything in life needs to be logical. There doesn't have to be a right or a wrong, a black or a white. The lines can be blurred. Logic is not the voice of intuition. Feeling, knowing, believing, having faith that you are being guided in a direction that is right for you, just you, because it does affect the whole. We do want to think of everything as a whole. You don't want to just be only self-centered and thinking only of yourself, or self-interested is the better way to put it, which I've been taught. But you do have to realize that your guidance is your guidance. I see this quote from Steve Harvey all the time. When you tell a dream, especially a big dream, to someone else and they shoot it down or they can't see it, it's because that dream is not for them. God didn't give them that dream. He gave you that dream. So only you are going to be the one that sees it. It's the same thing when it comes to your guidance. Only you can guide your life. You can get advice, you can get opinions, and some advice and opinions are good as long as you can take it with a grain of salt and understand that what works for someone else might not always work for you. And you need to learn to build upon this trust you make with yourself. The more you start to realize your guidance is working or where it's going, the more you will begin to start to trust yourself more. I know there was another instance not that long ago when I was spending the night with my kids at my parents' house, and I had driven my car and parked it in the driveway. I had a lot of stuff. I have 2 young babies and we had lots of stuff to carry in. So I left my car in the driveway overnight. And I had this voice in my head, this thought that just like, go move your car, go move your car, go move your car, go move your car. Do not leave it there overnight. And I didn't. I got lazy. I didn't want to do it. I went to bed, and you know what? I woke up in the morning to a loud crash and my dad running in the door cursing. He had backed straight into my car. He forgot that I was there. He didn't realize in his haste to get out to work in the morning, he just backed right up, backed right into my car. These are little things. It wasn't the end of the world. The car got fixed. It's no big deal. But that was an instance where I didn't trust myself. I didn't listen. I knew that something needed to change. I knew that I needed to move my car, and I didn't. So that was actually a more trusting lesson for me in reverse because I didn't listen. Sometimes that can happen. Sometimes when you don't trust your guidance or you don't trust your voice, you learn a lesson like, oh, that's what I was being told to do. That's why. You know, you can learn to trust yourself by ignoring your inner guidance. And don't do that. It's not the best thing. You don't want to have to go get your car fixed. It's not fun, but it's not a big deal. So these couple of instances obviously were very small. But other times, you know, you'll find people or you'll find situations where it's hard to trust yourself because you don't have confidence in yourself. You don't have confidence in what you're bringing to the table. I'm working with a client right now who has a really hard time stepping into her power, stepping into her true gifts. It's this constant like, when this happens, I'll be able to do it. Or once I learn this, I'll be able to do it. Or once I finish this class, I'll be able to do it. And I had to stop and ask her at one point, you are being guided to do this. Like everything You do. Everything about you is so gifted in this art of readings and intuition and spirit. What is it going to take for you to trust yourself and take the leap to start doing it for real? We can find ourselves falling down into the path of, I need to learn more, or I need to do more, or I don't have all the information or all the answers. You know what? We're never going to have all the answers. Our intuition works in the moment, in the present moment, and it's always going to be showing us the way, one way or another, whether we ignore it or not, of what we should be doing. So the more we can get in step with it, the more it will become a common occurrence, and the more we will be able to trust it, learn from it, and let it help guide us. When you don't, and sometimes when you don't learn to trust it, you will face bigger consequences. I know I went years of my life not trusting it and found myself in a real pickle in my early 20s. My body was acting up, telling me something wasn't right, but I did not want to listen. And that is a choice you make sometimes. You sometimes choose not to listen to your body. You sometimes choose not to listen to your intuition. You sometimes choose not to trust yourself. And I think that is one of the worst things we can do. When I chose not to trust myself, when I chose not to trust my inner knowing, I wound up having to declare bankruptcy at 24 years old because I wrongly trusted someone, lived with him, allowed him to use a credit card and rack up a ton of charges, and then he got away scot-free. So these things do have consequences. When you do not trust yourself, like I've shown in these last 3 examples, they do have consequences. Some are smaller than others, some are grander than others, bigger than others. Some are not fun to deal with. And you don't know what not trusting yourself, what those consequences are going to be. So it is so much more beneficial to you if you can start to tap in, if you can start to realize that there is something more to the feelings you have, that might be a knowing. I know when I was talking to my mentor recently, we were talking about the idea that science is catching up with this idea of intuition. Science is catching up with the energetic world. It is proving that your gut and your heart are just as intelligent and give you just as many signals as your brain. We have been so focused on using our brain, the logic side of our brain, in all of our decision making and all of our steps in life. And that leads to just a very boring, I would say, life, mundane life. It might be a safe life. You might be making choices that are on paper extremely safe, but you are not taking the chances that allow you to flourish. You are not understanding what this special magic in you has to share, because it is within all of us. I always come back to children, raising 2 young children. It is just so apparent to me. We are hardwired from birth to be intuitive. We are hardwired to be connected. We are hardwired with all the answers, but we shut them down. And it is not doing any of us any good. It is time to really step into our trusting ourselves. I think it's also very similar to the concept when people say you need to love yourself before you can love another. Well, you need to trust yourself before you can trust others. Your intuition will tell you who you can and can't trust. Your intuition will tell you if advice is good for you or not. Your intuition is there to be the scale. It's there to help direct you in the ways that you should move. So that is my intention for you this week, to take some time to learn to start to trust yourself. Take little steps. Don't start with the big decisions. Start with little decisions. Listen to your body. Listen to the stillness. Listen to the voices in your head. That sounds a little weird. Listen to the voices that come through you and your thoughts, and get quiet with them and see what feels right for you. I come back to the concept a lot of feeling versus thinking. That is the key to intuition, as far as I can tell, is truly to understand how you feel. What feels good? What feels right? What feels off? What just gives you an uneasy feeling? Because that is instinctual. Instinct and intuition go hand in hand. They are very similar. You instinctively know what to do, and your intuition is telling you how to do it, or where to go, or what to do. So you have to feel this. You instinctively feel if you're scared. You instinctively feel if you're hungry. You instinctively feel if you're excited. Your intuition is similar. It works with that same nervous system, those same feelings. Breathing can help settle it all down and help you hear it because that settles your nervous system. 3 breaths in, 3 breaths out. You can come back to calm. You can center yourself. I just saw this whole study about grounding, how the energy from the earth comes in. All these practices help regulate your nervous system and help you connect. When we can regulate our nervous system, we can truly feel our way through any situation, through any scenario, through anything that we need advice or direction on. So next time you get this inkling to call someone and ask for their advice of what you should do, I mean, it's one thing if you just want to call and talk through something. Sometimes you need to hear yourself speak just to work your way through it. But next time you do want to pick up the phone and call and get the advice of a friend or a loved one, take a minute first. Take a little bit of time to sit with yourself and ask yourself the questions you would ask someone else. That goes hand in hand with this intention of the week of learning to trust yourself more. Take the time to sit down and ask yourself the questions. Ask yourself as if you weren't involved with whatever scenario or situation you want the advice on. Ask as if you were the one being asked for the advice and give that advice back. See what it feels like. If it feels good, then go with it. Then you can confirm it if you want with someone else, but don't necessarily require that confirmation that you're doing the right thing from someone else. Because like I said, their path is different than yours. Their experiences are different than yours. What they would do would be different than what you would do. And that's okay. We're all supposed to have our own journeys. We're all supposed to have our own experiences. We're all supposed to have our own path. That's what makes this world interesting and unique. So just because someone does something one way and you do something another way doesn't mean it's wrong. And it doesn't mean that you should shun their advice. Take it with a grain of salt. Feel if it's right for you and go for it. See what happens. Try with the small things and work your way up. And if you need any help learning to connect, learning to get quiet, learning to truly start to trust who you are, what your inner voice is saying, I'm here. Give us a call at the Intentional Home and Living. Book a session. We do 15-minute free consultations where we can see how we can work together, whether it's a one-off coaching session or something more. We can do weekly and bi-weekly sessions. I really look forward to connecting with you. And thank you so much for joining the podcast today, Intentional Living with Courtney Meyers. Next week, we will have my friend, Erica Leary, on the show. And we will be talking all about crystals, connections, and so much more. And following that, we will have Angie Wisdom, like we talked about, talking all about mindset and what your life's non-negotiables are. She has a new book out. I'm really excited to talk to her about it. It is shot to #1 on Amazon in the business section and coaching sections. So I'm very excited. My copy is in the mail and we will get into a great conversation. You can find the Intentional Home and Living at CourtneyMyers.com, online and on social. And if you like the show, please follow, comment, share, all the good things. And I hope to see you next week. Bye.